relation to water, and then the third was in relation to stunts. And just on the first one, I suppose the first tactic, obviously the time that we're in, it is election time, and there are a lot of candidates out there who are campaigning on the water issue and using the local election as a referendum on the water issue. And just saying that, you know, we don't want to get distracted from the local election, but at the same time we do need to start building the foundations and the networks to have a good basis for a fight back on water. So how do we use the local election cleverly to build those networks? And apart from gathering information and people's names and stuff like that as we're campaigning, that we can be, for example, you could have a candidates meeting on water where you invite all of the candidates in and have a debate. And obviously, you know, you would imagine that the usual suspects, Fine Gael, Fine Gael and Labour, probably won't turn up, but that makes us look good either. But that, you know, the other thing is that a good strong left return vote would give people confidence around campaigning on water. And the other tactic is to identify locally groups that have a high dependency on water, so hospital groups, clubs, and start making connections with them and building another way of building it. There was a sense that people aren't really coming out to meetings kind of held at night in venues, so that maybe we go to them. So again, during the election campaign, we could be having street meetings and going through estates on a street-by-street basis and just taking a megaphone, but not leaving without not just the contacts that we've made, but without letting people themselves identify their own little network and who their leader is, and have a phone tree set up so that it's easy to make contact with people, so that when things do kick off, as we hope that they will, that it's easy to sort of, I suppose, resurrect that network and do that quickly. Delaying tactics are good, like for example moving stopcocks into private property so they can't access them, cementing them over, blocking estates and all that. It's good for building networks and awareness and confidence, and perhaps encouraging people to come out to protest, but that's only one of the many tactics that we should use in the campaign. So there was just some ideas around the tactics that we could use. Then we went on to arguments, and I suppose the first thing was just in relation to, there is apathy out there. I mean, people are kind of thinking, well, what's the point, you know, they got us on the property tax, and the key argument there is that, okay, well, they might have got us on the property tax, but an awful lot of people who ended up feeling bullied into paying the property tax didn't actually pay the household tax. We actually won on the household tax, and there's still a lot of chaos, which we welcome, in relation to the household charge. They keep moving the deadline, for example. Apparently there's a phone line that you can ring on, and when you do ring in, there's just beeps on it. So, like, you know, we can use those arguments that they actually don't know what they're doing in relation to the household tax, and they probably won't know what they're doing in relation to the water charges as well. So, for example, you know, if you call the fire brigade and the fire brigade comes along and plugs in outside your home and uses that water, who pays for that? So there's a lot of unanswered questions and chaos, and we should use those arguments. But not forgetting, of course, that we have one on the forests and the government returned on the pylons. So this government is definitely for turning, and we're happy to help them with that. And that also we've paid this tax already. Then there was the whole question around the fact that, you know, water is a human right, and there's a lot of stuff that we don't know in relation to the arguments that we could be using. There's a lot of information, for example, in this room today that's been shared. I saw Andrew Keegan has a big sign down there, a big chart in relation to harvesting. So the idea that came out of our group, something concrete, is to create some sort of a web-based resource where we can, you know, put all of the information, all the arguments that we have in relation to the introduction of a water charge, but everything, you know, the arguments, the economic arguments, conservation, environmental, and also the political arguments that people can use as a resource, because there's a huge amount of information. Like, for example, a lot of people don't know that Micheál Martin led the charge in relation to the countries that resisted the declaration of water as a human right. He was the Minister for Foreign Affairs at the time, so that's a valuable nugget of information that we could be using in our local campaigns. So how do we consolidate all that information? And then just lastly, in relation to stunts, we need another Avondale, I think, was because that was so successful, yeah. And to use the reservoirs that we have, and how about, you know, a Sunday having a hug-in and having, you know, trying to get loads of people out that we actually hold hands around the reservoir, something really visual, that we need to be really creative in these campaigns, and that they need to be genuinely grassroots. And also things like, you know, go to places where there's water, fountains, swimming pools, leisure centres, and particularly leisure centres and clubs. Like, the cost of accessing these kind of amenities is going to go up if there's water charges. So that's it, the three areas: tactics, arguments and stunts. Thanks, Lynn.